Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Highly Taken Podcast Late Night After Hours edition. I'm David Seeger back here again from Tallahassee, Florida.
Christian, Elkton, Maryland, you know how it goes.
Dylan, Des Moines, Idaho.
Des Moines, is that Des Moines in Idaho? Or is that Iowa? Dylan doesn't know where in the world he is. But it's the start of a beautiful weekend. So we like to do our Gone in 60 Seconds. I'm going to open it up to the floor today. You know, I want to hear your guys' best fictional athletes of all time.
Like a starting lineup?
No, I just you go over a list of who you think are the best. Right. Give me top three all-time best fictional athletes.
I don't know if I can put this in order, okay? But in no order, I'm going to go Booby Miles. I mean, Guy was an absolute legend, okay? Who am I going to go with here next? Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I can't really think of any guys off the top of my head right now. I'm kind of drawing a blank. I don't know why. Dylan, help me out here. Cut the slack.
I'll take over here. I'd have to say Air Bud. I mean, dude was a multi-sport athlete, and
he won a Women's World Cup.
Oh yeah, won the Women's World Cup.
I got
won a World Series.
He broke barriers. The first transgender athlete.
I'm gonna fire off another one here. I'm gonna go Bugs Bunny.
Oh,
Bugs Bunny. I mean, he's been known to be a baller. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with somebody that's better. Give me Lola Bunny. Lola Bunny was a certified baller.
I don't know. She's a woman, so.
Oh, it's International Women's Day. Come on, you got. But yeah, I have some I wanted to list off. One of them is going to be Pablo Sanchez from Backyard Baseball, the GOAT of Backyard Baseball. He could do it all, truthfully. And another one, you know, I thought Dylan was going to take this one. Give me the dude with 7 Piston Cups, Lightning McQueen, as one of the best athletes of all time. And
I only got to list off 2.
Oh, well, okay, Dylan, you list off a third one. I was going to say Lightning McQueen, he could have had more titles. He could have had the most titles of all time, could have passed Carl Weathers. But instead, he's like, nah. He's like, I want to help out the old man. And now Chick Hicks has a Mickey Mouse Piston Cup.
Yeah, this is very true.
Just like the Lakers finals win in the bubble.
I mean, what about Paul Crewe?
I was about to say.
Which version?
Had the accuracy to hit the referee in the nuts twice.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right there, dude. Paul Crewe is a beast.
We have Rocky Balboa, has been one of the best, boxing acts of all time. Somehow would go up against these monsters and was undersized, would go up and win those fights. I mean,
Rocky's definitely a good one right there. Good one.
I just wanted to talk about those athletes. It just kind of a question that popped in my head. I guess we can transition into let's go football.
Before we transition, let me just backtrack to Air Bud. Remember, Air Bud played baseball. Dude had no lower body strength, just turned his head, and dude was getting base hits. Not just singles either. Multi-base hits.
The big thing for me is, he played first base, right? And he played on the Angels that won the World Series, which, obviously, that's kind of not true, but Angels don't win World Series. But he played on the Angels and won the World Series, something Mike Trout hasn't even done, may I add. Won World Series MVP as well. But the average baseball player throws the ball around 90 to 100 miles per hour to first base, and he's catching that with his bare teeth. And what the heck are these teeth made out of to be able to do that?
Yeah, it seems kind of crazy.
Do you want to think one of the most overrated teams of all time is going to be the Angels and the outfield Angels? They has to be one of the most overrated teams out there. I mean, they literally got divine intervention throughout the entire. Christopher Lloyd was just helping people fulfill their wishes and whatnot. It just feels kind of unfair, truthfully.
I mean, one guy did. I don't know if it was legal. One guy did just punch through the wall to catch a home run ball.
See, that's a good question. Is that legal? I want to know where in the rule books it says you can't punch through the wall to grab a baseball.
Or would it go?
As long as your feet are inbounds?
Yeah.
As long as your feet are inbounds, I'm pretty sure it's all good. Or not even just your feet, but just any part of your body is inbounds.
The rule is as long as you left the field in play before touching out of play and caught the ball, then it's a catch.
So here's a real question to all MLB players. Why not just get to the fence right away, climb it, and stand on top of the fence?
Oh, like that Asian dude off of Major League 2?
Yeah.
The dude like did a whole
question. But then what happens when they hit it to shallow center?
Well, but didn't that happen to was Ozuna that happened to when he played with the Cardinals? Like a person hit a ball, he thought it was going to be a home run, he climbed the whole fence, but the ball landed like 5 feet in front of the fence.
I think so.
Yup.
But yeah, we'll transition. A lot of we have a lot we can talk about for football. Not a lot that much has happened, but truthfully, it's just going to be what the free agency scene is looking like right now. And we can honestly just start by positions. Let's go with probably one of the biggest ones right now. It's going to be that running back position. They have a lot of teams out there who are needing running backs, but then a lot of teams who have let go of the running backs. Saquon's a free agent. Derrick Henry's a free agent. DeAndre Swift's a free agent. Now Joe Mixon, he's going to be a free agent.
Austin Eckler.
Jacobs, Eckler, all free agents. And you just like
Saquon.
Yes, this has to be the biggest running back free agency market I've seen in probably forever since watching football, which I just kind of want to see your guys' thoughts, processes, and where you think these guys may want to end up or are going to end up.
So I'll start off Saquon. I know one huge thing that's been in the talks. Philadelphia seems to have a major interest in Saquon, and I wouldn't doubt if Saquon wants to go to Philadelphia. Graduated, I don't know if he graduated, but played with Penn State. Division rival also. You got to think maybe Saquon wants to play the Giants twice a year just to show them, hey, you shouldn't have wasted your money on Danny Dimes. Dude's not even worth a nickel. Maybe he just wants to tear apart the Giants twice a year. Stay in the division facing teams that he's already faced twice a year. I could honestly see him going to Philadelphia or maybe even Houston. I know Houston is also a huge landing spot for Saquon. He'd have to split carries with Dameon Pierce
and Devin Singletary. That's wild. That they have a good back four over there.
That's why I could honestly see him going to Philadelphia, because the only other person that Philly has right now is
Boston Scott
and Kenneth Gainwell. Those are the only two people, and you got to think Saquon probably knows that.
Where's Ronnie Brown?
I could also see Philadelphia drafting Frank Gore Jr., get themselves a good power back.
Ooh, yeah, his father was an Eagles legend. I could see them trying to get Frank Gore Jr.
Oh man, yeah, no, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
But and I guess I'll ask a question to Christian. Like, what made it to where these running backs? I just feel like loyalty really isn't a thing right now. Not really with the running backs, but really with the organizations letting these guys go right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's just a testimony to how many running backs you're starting to see come out of these late rounds and produce. I mean, you have your running backs who at the end of the day are better than others. You have your guys like Saquon and Kamara and Christian McCaffrey who are people that were taken in the first round. I actually think Kamara fell late into the second or early into the second, but people that were taken in those early first and second rounds, okay, that they're a little bit better than the rest. but it's not by miles. I mean, unless you are Christian McCaffrey or prime Derrick Henry, it's not by miles how much better you are at the running back position. And it's just because they're a dime a dozen at this point, and a lot of teams are looking at that and they're just saying, okay, look, we can find a better one somewhere, or not a better one, but we can find almost another you who's going to give us just about what you gave us, but we can find him in the 6th round and put him behind our line. So they don't care. There's no loyalty to the running backs, and that's why it's a dying market. And it's kind of crazy, to see and think about that, and all the talent that is available this season alone on the market. It just feels like it's set up for rich teams to get richer. A team like the Eagles, a team like the Texans, a team, like Dallas, someone that's set up that's already good to just continuously get better right now. When all these bad teams, Seattle, it kind of looks like they're starting on their downfall. Buffalo, it looks like they're starting on their downfall in the rebuild. They're starting their rebuild while other teams are about to completely go up. And there's just when it comes to the running back position specifically, bro, you're not going to hang on to it. Why would you? Why are you going to pay a guy $10 million when you're in the middle of a rebuild and you can go get the exact same production on a guy that's 6 years younger and you can take him in the 6th?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, what would you say? Oh, sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree with him. What were you going to say, Dylan?
I was going to say, what would you guys say? I don't know what the talks are with Tampa Bay and Baker. I don't know if they're going to stick with him, but if he does stick with Tampa, I'm pretty sure Mixon and Baker were teammates in college, correct? So could you see Mixon maybe moving to Tampa Bay
Oklahoma
to team up with Baker?
See, they still have Rachaad White on that team, and I feel like they like Rachaad White. Granted, I personally feel he underperformed this season. And I think when you can have the chance to get a guy like Joe Mixon, you should take the chance, But again, that's how the running back market is looking. And if you have these guys asking for multiple millions of dollars, you're not going to give it to them. It's just not going to happen. So regardless of what the connections are, Baker can walk into the front office after getting his contract and say, look, I want Joe Mixon so badly. But if Joe Mixon's saying I want $10 million a year, Bucks might be looking at him like, we can get a guy who's going to be just as good as you, for $6 million. You know what I mean? It's just a dying position. So I don't know necessarily there's really any say so there. It just kind of depends on what the running back wants.
Yeah, and I think here's the big thing we're overlooking. There's so many running backs out there in the market. We don't know where people are going to go yet because no one has taken the baits and set the price for the market right now. Weird, and we don't know who's going to go where because no one set that price yet. Yeah, we have Kamara's contract at I think 16 million, CMC at 18 million, somewhere around there.
At 17.
Yeah, 17 million. We have them, but with the rising cap, with them adding maybe extra games to and all that kind of stuff too, we don't know truly where that running back market is set right now. And so I don't think anybody wants to bite so early on that because they know okay, we see what happened last year. Daniel Jones set the market. Daniel Jones did. And once Daniel Jones set the market, then we had Hurts get his money. And once Hurts got his money, Lamar had to get his money. And so you don't want people sitting there and we need to give this guy money. And then you go up and you overpay for DeAndre Swift or Josh Jacobs. And then you had you have Derrick Henry, who arguably is the best running back in the league. They just got that money. I'm better than them. Give me this money. So especially in how deep of a free agency it is, because we haven't got started on the safeties that are out there still, or even the wide receivers are still available. And so it's just really, where are they going to set this market? I saw a crazy stat recently. Kelly Olynyk got a contract. It was $26 million for 2 years. That's $13 million, which would make him the third highest paid running back. $30 million a year make Kelly Olynyk, out of all people.
Yep.
He's making more money than all but 2 running backs, which is absolutely wild to me.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. I'm telling you, man, the running back is a dying market. And this is the opportunity for them to bring back the market, per se, for running backs. I mean, because there's just so many names out there that are available, all guys that have multiple Pro Bowls and all pros to their name. So it's going to be interesting to see just how that goes. But yeah, I mean, the free agent class is absolutely loaded. I don't think I expect a running back to be signed within the first day. I think it'll probably be day 2, day 3, because free agency starts on Monday, I believe, at at like 4 o'clock. David, you get over there?
Sorry, yeah, I'm just gonna attack. Yeah, it's just, and that's gonna be the interesting thing. Like, once the floodgates break, it's gonna start from there, and it's gonna be because we've only really seen. I don't think we've really seen any big moves in free agency yet. We've seen some re-signs, but we haven't seen any big moves. And does free agency open
free
yet?
Free agency hasn't opened.
Yeah.
No, free agency opens on Monday.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly that market is set. Like you said it's not going to be the first day. Probably won't be the first day. I really want to see that. I feel like the first person to set that market, funny enough, is probably going to be Tony Pollard. I feel like the Cowboys are going to like re-sign Pollard, and that's where the market's going to be set.
I don't think so. I think Dallas is out on Pollard. I think Dallas is going to try and bring in one of the bigger names. You know, whether that be Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Saquon, even Swift. They try to pull their hand with Swift.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that no one's talking about with the Dallas Cowboys the Dallas Cowboys is they lost Smith at their tackle spot. That's a big loss. I mean, he's testing for agency now. Obviously, they could re-sign him, but again, I feel like we've talked about it, how the Cowboys kind of really screwed themselves with the deals that they gave, Diggs and CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, and obviously they have to figure out what they're going to do with their money over there. Now the Eagles are in a lucky spot right now where they're really only paying, I feel like, Hurts a lot of money, and then not that much money to anybody else on the team, really.
Hurts right now isn't making any money. Hurts doesn't make any money till year 3 or 4 on the deal.
Yeah, and I mean, we unfortunately lost Kelce this past week, and one big thing we haven't mentioned, it's going to be interesting with free agency. Now we're talking about the safety market. The safety market just got flooded. And really some big surprising names out there. The Broncos and the Bills are both really seem like they're dumping guys right now. And it's kind of crazy what's happening.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy what's happening. It makes me feel like the off-season set up to be a very, very eventful off-season. But yeah, some of the names that came out, I mean, it just blew my mind. I mean, the safeties, I mean, the amount of names that are out there from the caliber of guys that are young players that can become great, players that are already great, players that are veterans that can be great veteran presence on it. Like, there's options all across the board, whatever you want to pay for. And like, dude, it's insane. I mean, yeah, you have guys, one big one I'm curious to see is Jamal Adams. I know he's old and he's injury prone, but I'm curious to see if he goes to a team like, let's say the Chiefs, or let's say the Bengals, a team that kind of like maybe already has a little bit of secondary presence there that he can kind of play a backup role to. I would be curious to see if he could get back into his true form. But yeah, like you mentioned, with Hoyer and Simmons, those are two big ones. CJ is also back on the market again. He's probably looking though for more than $8 million a year. I think he gets that this year. I really do. I think he probably gets the more than the $8 million this year. We'll see. Maybe he gets a 1 year, $9 million. Who knows?
Doesn't, his agent should be fired.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's a huge market out there for safety. A bunch of them out there. So a lot of teams, like I said, again, it just feels like teams are dumping players right now. You know what I mean? And the rich are going to get richer, and the poor are going to restart.
And like I said, I talked about it in the group chat. I feel like a lot of people are kind of in this like renaissance mode or whatever right now. They just saw the Chiefs go in and win with a great defense, a really good defense, and not so good of an offense. And you wonder, like, are people looking at this blueprint, like, wait a minute, like, hold on, do we just need to bust our defense out? Obviously, you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, though. I mean, let's be honest, not everybody has a Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But, I mean, you saw a team like the Chiefs go in there, not have that many good offensive weapons outside those two, and win a Super Bowl against a team that we thought was probably the most overall best team in the NFL. And then not only shut them down to like 19 regulation points, but win the Super Bowl as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I look at it kind of weird, man. Just because defense wins championships, but I feel like everybody's known that. Everybody's known defense wins championships, and we're putting all this high praise. And yeah, that defense did hold, arguably the best offense in the NFL to 19 points in regulation. But at the same time, who was the best player on the field that day? When it all came down, said and done, Patrick Mahomes was by far the best player on that field. The offensive player was the best player on that field. He's the one who completed that game. Did everything I needed to do. Every drive that had to be made, he went down. He did on the game, made the drives, made the calls, made the plays. So the defense will get you as far as it can, and it'll hold you and everything. But I still feel like if you don't have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, which nobody does, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You know what I mean? The Chiefs are the only guy who has Patrick Mahomes, and that should terrify everyone. Like, you should need to be getting better on all cylinders. It shouldn't just be, okay, well, if we stack you can stack your defense all you want. It's Patrick Mahomes had the worst offense in the NFL this year, and he still just won the Super Bowl. So stack your defense all you want. You're still not going to have the offense to go and compete. Like, it's not going to matter. You know what I mean? So I feel like you just have to fire on all cylinders. I don't think there's one way or another of looking at it because, again, there's only one Patrick Mahomes. Nobody else has Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to get what Patrick Mahomes is giving you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen. It's not anywhere else.
One thing I'll add on, you have teams, the defense, like the defensive free agent market is flooded, not just with safeties, linebackers as well. You have teams, I like Christian's mentality, the whole rich teams are probably going to get richer. The salary cap for the NFL rose. So you have teams like, I know it may sound biased, but Philadelphia, whose offense is a stacked offense. They lost Jason Kelce, big leader. Somebody's going to have to step up. But one thing to remember is they drafted Cam Jurgens for that specific reason. Yeah, he played guard, but he was primarily a center, and he was supposed to be Kelce's replacement. And he's probably trained with Kelce at center at some point. Kelce's probably giving pointers. But the biggest loss and like the biggest weakness of Philadelphia wasn't just their coaching, it was their defense. And with a market like there is for defense, Philadelphia can make some moves. They have the cap space, especially with the risen cap. They can make moves on defense to where they can not only fire on all cylinders on defense, they have Vic Fangio there on defense, which may draw defenders like Justin Simmons, may draw him to play with a former coach of his. You have Kellen Moore on the other side, good offensive mind, creative offensive mind, may draw in more offensive people as well, like a running back. Yeah. And when you have different pieces like that, alongside with availability of money, then you're going to have people who know that Philadelphia is a contender. They had an off year, but with better coaching, you have a team that could definitely make a deep run with Philadelphia. Even you look at the Texans. The Texans is another team where a few more pieces, and that team can probably be an AFC champion. CJ Stroud with the team that they had, CJ Stroud balled out. Yeah. And they lost to the Ravens, but the Ravens were the number one team, AFC. But that is a young team that I feel like with the salary cap rising in the market how it is, I feel like the Texans can make a big leap, and I think they can be a contender.
And I think a lot of people, a lot of people came out and said they wanted to play with CJ Stroud. I think he's the guy that feel like he can do what he needs to do, and like you said, it's a big defensive mark right now. The Texans would be one of the biggest teams that would need to go out there and do stuff on the defense side of the ball. But we saw what happens, during the regular season and the postseason with that defense. Even with DeMeco Ryans being a defensive-minded head coach, they needed a lot of help, especially against that Ravens offense. So. And the Texans are one of those teams I really want to see what kind of jump they make. Like, do we see a sophomore year slump with him? Do we see Stroud do even better? And do we see the defense make that more of an overall rounded team out there in Houston?
I personally think if you give him the right pieces, and I think for me, the right pieces on that offense is going to be maybe another offensive lineman or two to keep him upright, and keep him protected. But then on top of that, you need a number one playmaker. I love Tank Dell and I love Nico Collins. They're both two absolute studs. They're two guys that I think, that can grow into being those number one receivers. And the receivers that it seems as though CJ Stroud trusts. But I feel like we're seeing it more and more every year on every offense, dude. You need that number one crazy, go ham wide receiver. And I think they get it this offseason. I really do. I don't know who it's going to be. I think it might be through a trade. But I think they're going to get it, and that's what I love to see you do it over there in Houston, because CJ Stroud's brought a new energy and swagger to Houston that they didn't have. You know what I mean? They haven't had for probably their whole existence. And so now everybody wants to come and play for them. And why not, right? Why not? You just had a rookie coach and a rookie QB win their division, and have a trip to the playoffs and win a playoff game against a very good Cleveland Browns team. Regardless of who was playing quarterback, because Flacco was on fire at the time. So, yeah, I mean, there's multiple places for multiple players to go that are going to be very interesting to see. I'm interested in teams that could potentially either rebuild or continue to try and ride the wave, in teams like Chicago, New York, Washington. Now, I think Washington more than likely definitely takes a quarterback. But teams, like New York, I'm hearing New York is thinking quarterback. That's a big thing that I'm hearing right now for the draft. And it's like, whoa, how do you take a quarterback and swallow the pill of $40 million that you just gave Daniel Jones? Who has to get fired now? Because somebody has to get fired if you're drafting a quarterback 2 years after paying somebody $40 million. And plus, that's in our division, being Eagles fans. So I'm curious to see how that plays out for them. But yeah, I want to see all these young teams, all these not lesser teams do better. And I think another team to watch out for too is going to be Green Bay. Green Bay is definitely going to be a place that I think is going to figure things out as well for them. It's going to be on the defensive side as well. They're going to benefit from the defensive side of the ball here. And Aaron Jones is on the market. I think we missed that one as well. Aaron Jones
true.
is also on the market.
One thing I was going to say, with David talking about CJ Stroud possibly having a sophomore slump, I think CJ Stroud will win MVP.
Oh.
I think CJ Stroud will win MVP next year. You look at quarterbacks, especially first round quarterbacks, their rookie year, they may play decent. They're not great. CJ Stroud was great, but then their second year is when they really take off. They get their footing in the NFL. They start getting used to that higher, faster paced level of play than they had in college, and they take off their sophomore year. For example, Carson Wentz's sophomore year would have been MVP had he not torn his ACL. And that same year, the guy taken before him, Jared Goff, great year that year as well, took off with the Rams that year. Probably they could have been close to the NFC Championship if it weren't for Matty Ice and the Falcons that year. Baker Mayfield, his rookie year, he had hype, but his second year, I believe, he took the Cleveland Browns to the AFC Championship, and arguably that was his third year.
No, he never went to the AFC Championship.
They went to. Pretty sure they went to the AFC Championship.
They went to the divisional.
They won the wild
the Steelers in the wild card.
Steelers.
Yeah, and they lost to Chad Henne.
That's right. You're right. My fault. But still, that team 2 years prior was a winless team.
Yeah, but
and
I feel
a poverty franchise.
I feel like, though, it's just more common to have a sophomore slump than it is to have, instant success the second year after, because now there's more film on the guy, a full season worth of film. And that's not, none of this to say that I don't think CJ Stroud is going to be a step better than he was this year, because I do think he will be. I do think CJ Stroud has the mindset. He's got a mindset almost like Jalen Hurts. You know what I mean? Just kind of all I want to do is win. We're going to do whatever we can to win. I'm going to get better. My team's going to get better. That's going to be our energy around here. And when you have a guy like that, dude, he's going to figure it out. Even if he does have a meh year this year, he's going to be fine, I think. But yeah, there's a bunch of talent around the league. But let's try to circle into something else here, David. What else we got?
Yeah, I don't know much football unless you guys do, but I guess we can switch to basketball. I think one of the biggest news right now is going to be the injury to Karl Anthony Towns being out indefinitely for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, that's a big loss. Yeah, it's a huge loss over there. I mean, especially with it as tight of a race as it is in the West. And right now at this point, I heard that he's gonna undergo surgery and they're gonna reevaluate in a month. So if Ant and Gobert can keep things afloat. Wait a minute, didn't they trade Gobert?
No, Gobert's still there.
Okay, so yeah, as long as Ant and Gobert can keep things afloat, there might be a chance that Cat comes back. But look, it could be worse. Could have been Ant Edwards. You know what I mean? Could have been Ant Edwards. Thank God it's not Ant Edwards. If you're a Timberwolves fan, because anytime Cat scores big, you lose. So that's the good news. But yeah, no, it's just gonna be a massive blow again because of how close everything is in the West. Thunder look like Thunder and Nuggets. They both have prime opportunities now to just go ahead and completely surpass the Timberwolves. But the Timberwolves also can show, look, we're not a pushover. Like we can do this without Karl Anthony Towns. That's the type of team we are. And as we saw Anthony Edwards very next night put up 44 points in the game-winning block as well, with 6 rebounds as well. So he was doing on both sides of the ball. So they have a team, and led by Ant Edwards that can do something. So I'm not going to count them out. But if you ask me, the Thunder are going to finish on top. That's who I got. I think SGA and the boys over there, they're playing out of their minds. He's got the most 30-plus points a game this season. So, yeah, I love it.
Honestly, I don't think the Cat injury affects anything. I think the Timberwolves either way would have been first-round exits from the playoffs. The one thing I'll say about the Timberwolves, you look at them in the regular season, they may play well, but when it comes to the playoffs, much like the health inspector in SpongeBob, look at them choke. They get into the playoffs and it seems like the lights are too bright and they wind up start going at each other. You look at Gobert. Gobert is a person who's a defensive player of the year multiple times, yet when it comes to postseason, it seems like he's just an open border, like everybody passes through and gets theirs, and Gobert does nothing. But yeah, it's a terrible injury. You hate seeing any player, especially a star player, get hurt for their team. But I honestly think they would have been first round exits no matter what.
I know at least for them, obviously the game's changed a lot, and he was not only was he a big man who can go up and get boards for you, but also was a perimeter shooter who could spread out the defense on the other side and get other guys open looks, give Ants more room to drive to the lane to keep defensives honest. I mean, obviously that didn't matter last night against the Pacers, and the Pacers are a good team, and like you guys are saying, that's big when you get down to playoffs. You're playing a 7-game series. You're playing the same team every single night. You have the Western Conference, like Christian mentioned, is really tight right now. A lot of good teams in there. I mean, obviously the Nuggets are the defending champs. They have Jokic. That's big. I mean, obviously you can put Gobert on Jokic, but you have Karl Anthony Towns that can go out there. That's another guy they have to worry about. So it's just going to be very interesting. I really want the Timberwolves to be the first seed, but truthfully, I think Christian may have said it earlier. I think he said that he believes the Nuggets. I believe in we talked about Thunder. A week or two ago. I think right now he said Thunder, but I thought he may have said Nuggets a couple of weeks ago. But I guess remaining with basketball is going to be the Sixers right now. And they're still kind of in their downfall right now, too. Tonight, they were down by 30 points at one point to the New Orleans Pelicans. They ended up losing by 9. But this team right now is in the play-in tournament section of the East now. And, I mean, there's still a lot of basketball left to be played. Do they hold on? Do they make the playoffs? What happens with this team that they have right now?
So I think
they're going to make it.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to make it.
Yeah, they're Yeah, they're gonna make it. I don't know how pretty it's gonna look, but you're gonna get Embiid back with about a month left of basketball to play. And that's where your final push is gonna come through at. And Embiid's gonna be able to come back and he's gonna do that. I mean, the stats don't lie, right? I mean, the stat sheet is completely different with Embiid on the court versus when he's off the court, how the team plays, how the team functions, the amount of points per games, the defensive, like everything's completely changed on the stat sheet. And it's going to continue to go back into that form. Joel Embiid is an MVP and still an MVP caliber player. And all that's going to continue. I don't think that's really going to be the big issue. Tyrese Maxey can't go off every night, but he's going to continue to go off some nights. They're going to continue to gather up some wins here and there. And that's all they need to do. They just don't need to turn to the Hornets and lose, 45 straight or something like that. Like, they just need to stay afloat. That's it. If you're making the play-in, you make the play-in, right? You figured without Embiid, you're not going to end up getting the 1 or 2 or 3 seed. You don't have the team for that. So that's your goal. Your goal is to just make the playoffs. And if that's a play-in, that's a play-in. But it doesn't matter. That's what you need to do, and that's what they will do.
As I think Nick Nurse, as the head coach, needs to pour into these players like, hey, our star player, our number one player is out. You guys, I need you to hold on, because if I'm a coach, yes, you get Embiid back with a month left to play, but you're hoping that those other players can hold down the fort. That way you don't have to throw Embiid in right away. Give him more time to rest, give him more time to recuperate, because if it's to the point where there's no way you're going to not be in a play-in, what's the point? You have Tobias Harris, who is supposed to be one of your veterans. He's supposed to step up. He's very inconsistent, though. He'll give you a game where he scores 32 points, shoots lights out, but then has a game where he attempts like 8 shots at the most and gives you maybe 12 points. But, Tobias needs to step up, but as a whole unit, you need to play with more heart and you need to compete and win. That way you're not risking your star player before playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, as soon as Embiid went out, I just feel like they kind of started coasting, and like they're losing against teams they shouldn't be losing to, even with Embiid out. Like the Pelicans, you should win against the Pelicans.
The Pelicans. Hold on.
The Pelicans. I don't even think the Pelicans are they a playoff team right now.
Bro, the Pelicans are like a 6 or 7. I'm looking. Hold on.
I think you're right. I think they are like the 6th seed right now.
Let me see something. Damn, sorry. I told you, dude. Uncle Devin's Wi-Fi sucks. Ball sack. Yeah, dude. The Pelicans have more wins than us. They have a better record.
Well, they also aren't playing Joel Embiid down. It's crazy the Sixers were a 3rd seed when Embiid was in, and then now they're down to like a 7th, 8th seed now.
Yep, they're 35 and 28.
Yeah. So you got to hope that changes, but I don't know. Injuries is part of the game. Unfortunately, it is part of the game. Your roster has to be set up better, and when it came to when it came to trading, they did not make that many good moves, I feel like, especially with Embiid already being out at that point. They did not make good enough moves to boost that roster. I like Buddy Hield. It was a great pickup. But, I mean, you go out and you get rid of Beverly for some reason. You get Cameron Payne, of all people. That's who your guy. That move leaves that question on why on earth did we go out and go get Cameron Payne, of all people. So I don't know. You gotta hope that Nick Nurse can coach these guys to get some more motivation underneath them, put a fire underneath them. But man, it just worries me that they may not even be in a position. They would have to blow tremendously to get kicked out right now. I feel like of the whole playoff race. But man, they're definitely making me wonder if they're going to make the playoffs.
You look at the thing is, you look at the Beverly trade and you realize with him beat out, Beverly is probably one of those guys that would light a fire under the team. The guy that would talk up the team, a veteran who'd be like, "Hey, our guy is out, but we need to pick each other up." He talked about, and even Philly fans talked about it, how Beverly had that Philly mentality, the next man up mentality, the dog mentality. And you lost a guy. You lost an Energizer bunny. That's what you did. The guy that juices other people up. You lost a good guy, and it's going to cost you in the long haul.
Don't talking like he just went through a fucking breakup. Like this shit, he lost a good guy. But yeah, all right. I feel like we're running this a little long here, boys. We got any other topics to run into?
I don't have anything else. Baseball hasn't really done much. Trevor Bauer and Snell signed. What do you do?
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
we didn't do it yet this week. Do you guys have any certified ballers?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Ann Edwards for sure. I feel like I kind of don't really know who else to give it to. You know, after arguably your second best player goes down for undetermined how long, everyone's looking at you. Now, granted, you know, wasn't against a huge team that it beat. I believe it was only who did they win that game against? I think it may have been the Pacers.
Yeah, it's the Pacers.
You know, that's a good team though. Still, yeah, it's still a good team there. But yeah, I mean, Edwards goes out, dropped 44, 6 rebounds, end the game when he blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to Ann Edwards.
Give me Draymond Green passing Larry Bird.
That's crazy.
3-pointers. Nah, but in all seriousness, I'd have to say Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen has had a pretty good stint right now. He's had a pretty good lines with games. Surprisingly, like he's a guy that has bounced from different teams, but he still finds ways to impact the game, like impact on like his team, whether it be defensively. Haven't heard much about him scoring, but recently he's been playing really good basketball, scoring pretty easily.
He's a surprising starter. Truthfully, on a team that has Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and Gordon on it, or not Gordon, Beal, right? They have Beal.
Yeah.
He's surprisingly as a starter, and he plays a pretty good style of ball. It's probably because he can pass the ball and play defense. If I'm going with my certified baller, I'm going to give it to Caitlin Clark. You just passed the all-time record for most points scored in college history against Ohio State, unfortunately. But I mean, she's a great player. And it's going to be interesting to see what she does in the WNBA next year. I know some people are saying she could be in the NBA, and there's like a plus 100,000 odds, I believe, is what it's going at right now for Caitlin Clark being drafted into the NBA. Which is if you put your money into that, wild to me, but you know, whatever, kudos to you. But yeah, Caitlin Clark, she's a baller. She really is, and it'd be interesting to see what she does at the next level. Christian, who's your deflated baller this week?
You know, I don't know if I really have one off the top of my head. You know what? I think it's gonna be Caleb Williams. I don't like the way he's been going about everything through the combine with the medical exams and choosing to not work out. You know, being the first ever player to opt out of the medical records and such like that. Like, who do you think you are? Why do you think you're that much better than everyone else? You know, I get the hype around the guy. I understand he's got great arm talent, great arm strength, but come on, dude. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you want to show teams that, you know, you can be a team player, this, that, and the third. I feel like you're just giving off a very, like, me attitude.
For me, and I hope I don't botch this, by deflated baller, give me Brandon Podziemski with the Warriors. Blew a potential game-tying layup, and he was wide open. Drove, created space, wide open, decided to flip it up reverse, brick.
Yeah, and you know, originally I was going to go with.
I disagree with that take.
I
disagree with that take, dude. He didn't know that the defender had gotten picked when he was coming around. He thought the defender was right on his back. He couldn't see, he can't turn around mid dribble and look behind him to see if the defender is on his back. He thought the defender was on his back because that's how he was tailing coming around. So he went with the left hand and tried to put it up. But
well, it doesn't matter. You're an NBA player and you missed a layup. Even if the defender's,
I don't know.
Even if the defender's on your back, there's nobody in front of you. Yeah, you flip it up, but you have nobody that's contesting at that point. So you got to make that no matter what. You're an NBA starter. You're starting over Klay Thompson.
Yeah, He's
been asked.
I was really going to say my deflated baller was going to be Arch Manning for declining to be in the new NCAA movie video game because, quote, I want to play on the field when he's like a second or third string quarterback right now for Texas. But I'm going to give it to somebody who, we all loved. Zach Ertz. You're going to go and sign a deal with the Commanders. You had so many other teams. You just didn't have to pick the Giants, Cowboys, or Commanders, and you go and sign with a division rival. Nothing's ever going to make me stop loving Zach Ertz for what he did for the city of Philadelphia. But man, hearing him be like, yeah, I know, like my reputation with Philly, blah, 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 that's still home to me. I mean, you had Brent Selleck, who was going to be out of the league, or one team who wanted him, and the only team who wanted him was the Dallas Cowboys, and he said no, and he retired.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It's unfortunate. That was my deflated baller. Do you guys have any hot takes you like to bring out this weekend?
I think I already said my hot take. CJ Stroud, MVP.
Dylan's going. So we're going to have to wait and see Dylan's hot take in about 10 months now.
Chris has got me.
Think I'll go. For the week, I'll go.
Yeah, remember now that the free agency block hits on Monday for NFL.
I'll go 5. Yeah, the 5 top running backs and the 5 top safeties will all sign on the first 2 days.
Wow. Okay. That is definitely a hot take. I wouldn't have expected that. I'm gonna go with the NBA here, and I think somebody's gonna put up a 60 burger this week. I don't know who's gonna do it, but I feel like this week somebody will put up 60 points. We saw a giant streak there where people were putting up a bunch of points in 1 week. I feel like it's kind of died down since then. But I feel like this could be where we see another 60-point game. And if I had to take a guess, give me Luka. I feel like Luka's due for another 60-point here soon.
I like it.
Y'all have anything else you want to add for tonight?
Nah, I'm good, buddy.
All right, Paul, you guys have nothing
I'm gonna
to
go
add?
get a slushie.
Don't go get happy hour slushy. Sonic does the late slushies. They're probably
I
gonna
know
blue red.
Speedway.
Oh,
Speedway.
Speedway. My bad. 99 cent. 89 cent? 69 cent. Somewhere around there.
They raised it to like $1.79 because 7-Eleven took over.
But actually, that's Slurpee now. As 7-Eleven took over. But hey, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for watching, and hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll leave you chill out.
Deuces.
See ya, dog. Ow.
Always bring the number one.
All right, bye.
Pockets, we taking over the scene. We drop dubs and chugs, living the sports dream. From hot takes to deep dive, it's a winning regime. Come join the hype. We not just blowing steam. We're known for our hot takes, blazing the fire, bringing heat to the table, never preaching to the choir, debating on players, teams, and even strategies. We keep it real, the sugar-coated fallacies. David's on the mic, spinning knowledge of flair. He breaks down the stats with a voice smooth like air. Christian's a funny guy, bringing laughter and joy. He got the jokes unlocked and no one can destroy. Needs the analyst break down the X's and O's. He sees the game differently like nobody knows. Together unite, forming a podcast dream team, making waves in the industry, fulfilling